Subscribe to Cinebuster right now because this channel covers the real stories behind the cars that live inside the films people grew up watching. And today's car is one of the most beautifully California things ever committed to film. It's a 1963 Chevrolet Impala convertible, top down, rolling slow through a south central Los Angeles neighborhood on a hot Friday afternoon, driven by a man named Hector who clearly has his priorities straight. The film it belongs to cost $2.5 million to make, made back more than 10 times that, and became one of the defining comedies of the 1990s, without a single car chase, explosion, or budget worth bragging about. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And now, lights, camera, action. To understand why a '63 Impala convertible belongs in this particular film, you have to understand what the film is trying to say and where it came from. Before Friday hit theaters in April 1995, the dominant visual vocabulary of South Central Los Angeles on screen was defined by films like Boys in the Hood and Colors. Serious, menacing, violence-forward pictures that captured a real dimension of the neighborhood, but not the whole thing. Ice Cube and his writing partner DJ Pooh felt that something was missing. Ice Cube said it plainly: they had fun in the hood. They used to trip off the neighborhood. The comedy, the characters, the specific texture of a Friday in a block where everybody knows everybody. None of that was getting screen time.
God damn! You got to be a stupid motherfucker to get fired on your day off.
Ice Cube wrote the script, the third he had ever completed, and took it to New Line Cinema. New Line agreed to finance on one condition. The role of Smokey, originally intended for DJ Pooh, needed to go to someone with more experience in front of a camera. Ice Cube and Pooh had one name: Chris Tucker, who they had found on Def Comedy Jam. Tucker's first audition was not great. He was given time to try again, eventually landing the role after a dinner session with Angela Means that apparently sorted him out. The chemistry between Tucker and Ice Cube became the spark of the whole film. F. Gary Gray directed. This was his feature debut, having previously worked with Cube on music videos. Gray admitted that the prospect of Ice Cube doing comedy terrified him. As he put it, Ice Cube was the toughest man in America, and the idea of audiences buying him as a slacker sitting on a porch all day was not an obvious pitch. It worked. The film was shot in 20 days on a single city block in Los Angeles for roughly $2.5 million, and grossed more than $27 million worldwide. Its cast included Nia Long, Tiny Zeus Lister Jr. as Debo, Bernie Mac, John Witherspoon, Angela Means as Felicia, Faison Love as Big Worm, and in one of the most memorable uncredited debuts in film history, a young Michael Clark Duncan appearing as a craps player. Craig and Smokey sat on that porch for 89 minutes and created something that people still quote daily, 30 years later.
Craig.
Bye, Felicia.
Y'all stench.
Hector is a minor character in the Grand Friday architecture. He's played by Demetrius Navarro, and his role in the plot is essentially to exist as a counterpoint to Craig's situation. Hector is Smokey's other smoking buddy, a neighborhood figure who shows up on the block doing what Hector does. He's not the lead. He's not even a supporting player in the traditional sense, but Hector has the car. And in a film where everything of consequence happens within about a 2-block radius, and the biggest action sequences involve a bicycle theft and a garden hose, having the right car matters enormously. The car Hector is driving is a 1963 Chevrolet Impala convertible, not a 1964, which tends to get more of the cultural conversation, the 1963, and there are meaningful differences. The '63 Impala is a third-generation car, part of the run that spanned 1961 through 1964, and it carries a specific aesthetic that separates it from its successor. Where the '64 moved towards softer, rounder lines, the '63 has a sharper, more angular quality. Pointed front fenders, more defined rear quarter panels, a distinct crease in the rear deck lid that the 1962 did not have. The 3-round tail lights per side that define the Impala's identity are present. The proportions are long, wide, and low, exactly as a convertible on hydraulics should be. In 1963, Chevrolet sold roughly 830,000 Impalas total. The car was selling at a volume that made it one of the most purchased automobiles in America. About 82,000 of those were convertibles. Engine options ranged from the base inline-six through a 283 V8, up through 327 and 409 cubic inch options, with the big block 409 available in configurations pushing 425 horsepower at the top end. The IMCDB entry for the Friday Impala notes that the V emblem on the front fender indicates a V8-equipped example. So Hector was not out there on a six-cylinder, whatever else you might say about him. By the way, subscribe to Cinebuster right now if you haven't yet, because the history of this car and where it ended up is far more interesting than Hector's afternoon. Before we get into the car's specific story, it's worth spending a moment on what a 1963 Impala convertible means in the context it appears in. The Chevrolet Impala's X-shaped frame, introduced in 1958, was almost by accident the perfect platform for lowrider conversion. The X-frame allowed for a lower passenger compartment, provided the structural rigidity needed for hydraulic suspension systems, and created enough clearance to lower the body to essentially nothing above the road surface. When lowrider culture emerged from the Chicano communities of Southern California in the post-war years, the Impala became the vehicle of choice. Not because anyone at General Motors planned it that way, but because the engineering happened to be exactly right. By the late 1980s and through the 1990s, the Impala, particularly the early 1960s generations, had become deeply embedded in West Coast hip-hop culture. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Warren G, the visual language of West Coast rap, was, in a significant part, a 1964 Impala on hydraulics, bouncing on chrome wire wheels in a music video shot in the kind of neighborhood that Friday was depicting. The 1963 sits 1 year before the model that gets most of the cultural spotlight, but it carries the same lineage. The same X-frame, the same silhouette. In the context of a South Central block in 1995, a man rolling up in a clean 1963 Impala convertible top down is making a very specific statement about who he is and how he moves through the world. Hector is not in a hurry. Hector has arrived.
Our 63 Chevy convertible has come equipped with a 327 cubic inch turbo fire V8.
Now, here's where things get interesting. And it involves a level of detective work that only the most committed car community databases tend to surface. If you watch Friday with the eye of someone paying attention to production details, you will notice something in the first scene featuring Hector's car. The front plate is blue, and then later in the film the plate has changed to white. This is not a continuity error anyone catches on the first viewing. It's the kind of thing you need to be watching for specifically. And for years it sat unremarked in the general Friday conversation, until a user dropped a comment that changed everything. Lincoln James wrote, "My name is Lincoln James. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I now own this car." At the beginning of the movie it shows the blue plate on front of Hector's car, but after that the plate is white. I still have the original white plates and plate frame on the car, and it's on the title also. That comment, posted in 2014 on a car forum, is the only known public claim of ownership of the Friday Impala, and it comes with a detail that checks out against the film itself. Someone watched closely enough to notice two different plates on the same car within the same movie, and the person making the claim says they have the white ones, still attached to the car, still listed on the title. This is not the kind of detail a casual fan invents. Other users on the same page responded with enthusiasm and requests to see more photos. Lincoln posted one image of the car, and then, as internet threads do, the conversation moved on without full resolution. The car has also been spotted at various lowrider events. The story does not end there. Looking on social media, an Instagram from presumably the same person made a post on January 3rd, 2025, that the Impala was for sale in Louisville, Kentucky. And from the times of the post and adjoining comments, it did not take long to sell. I'm kinda surprised he ever parted with it, but it sounds as if he owned the car for a considerable length of time before parting with it. 20 to 25 years is a long time to own a car, assuming he owned it shortly after Friday wrapped. Friday was not a film anyone in Hollywood was particularly confident about going in. The idea of Ice Cube, the man who wrote most of Straight Outta Compton, who had made America's Most Wanted, who had played Doughboy in Boys in the Hood, sitting on a porch all day doing nothing in a comedy, was a difficult pitch. F. Gary Gray said it scared him. New Line Cinema wanted a comedian with more experience in the smoky role, which is why DJ Pooh ended up behind the camera instead of in front of it. The whole production had the energy of something being made on instinct and a tight budget rather than institutional confidence.
Yeah, come on, nigga.
What they made was something that has functioned as a cultural reference point for 30 years. The phrase "Bye Felicia" entered the English language. Smokey's reaction faces became meme templates before meme templates were a concept. Big Worm, Debo, the Jones family dynamic, the Jehovah's Witness at the door, every element of that block has been quoted, recreated, and celebrated continuously since 1995. The film grossed $27 million against a $2.5 million budget. It launched a franchise with Next Friday in 2000 and Friday After Next in 2002. And it remains the one that people return to. And somewhere in all of that, in the opening credits and the establishing geography of the neighborhood, in the visual shorthand that tells the audience immediately that this is South Central in summer, is a 1963 Impala Vert rolling through the frame, top down, moving at the only pace that makes sense on a Friday afternoon. Hector is not the main character. The car is not the main prop. But both of them do something the best supporting elements in film always do. They tell you exactly where you are and exactly what kind of story this is, without a single line of dialogue. The 1963 Chevrolet Impala convertible from Friday is, as far as the available public record goes, in private hands in Louisville, Kentucky, owned by someone who noticed the plate change that most viewers have never clocked, and who still has the original white plates and frame on the title. It has not been auctioned, certified, or toured. It's just a car that was in a movie that became a cultural institution quietly existing in a garage somewhere in the American Midwest. 30 years removed from a South Central block that the whole world eventually came to know by its postal code and its porch. Subscribe to Cinebuster and drop in the comments if you caught the plate change on your own, and we'll see you in the next one.